Welcome to one of the many circle sessions hosted by Wonder Girls. Wonder Girls is a nationwide classrooms movement. We bring relatable female role models into classroom settings through our circle sessions. As you will see, the crux of these sessions is its dialogic nature. We're currently working with classrooms across 7 Indian cities and continuing to grow. Our aim is for every adolescent in India to have access to relatable female role models. I welcome you once again and hope you enjoy learning from our role models' life journey and career path.
So all of you, there are 3 norms before we start the session. First norm is like we'll be active throughout the session. If you have any questions, anything, you please put it in chat or please do raise hand so that we will give you a chance to ask the question. Second thing, when someone is speaking, make sure that you will keep your mics on mute. Okay. And third and last, make sure that you learn as much as possible from this session. Okay. If everyone are fine with it, can you give me a thumbs up if you are clear with my instructions? Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Okay. So all of you, I hope everyone went through for the pre-work which was assigned to you. From the pre-work, you know who is here. So Harsha Didi is a photographer based from Mumbai. Harsha Didi is just doesn't take in one genre. She takes photography in different methods. She takes photography regarding architecture. She takes about portrait and different ways. So today you can ask Harsha Didi about this profession and if you are how she is how she is doing so many things from this profession, and also you can learn what are some things that you require if you want to join in photography as your profession. Okay. Am I clear with the instructions, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I'll give the mic to Harsha Didi from here.
Okay. Before I start, I am actually an introvert and I am not a social person. Okay, so please excuse any awkwardness that you see from my side. It's not something I do, but I thought that this is something that I should do so that others can maybe, like, I have been inspired in my life through a lot of photographers. So I hope that through this I will be able to light that spark maybe and tell you why I love photography. So to give you some background, I have not studied photography. I have learned it myself, right? And I did not start off as a photographer because I actually come from like a very middle class background and my parents would never ever allow me to do this. So I have worked for 2.5 years, earned money and bought cameras myself, right? So the first camera I bought with my first job after saving for 6 months. Then I did a lot of gigs and I bought like the second camera. This first one was a small Canon 600D with which I shot my best friend's wedding. And that's when it started, right? I did not shoot it because I always knew. I just enjoy documenting life, right? So this whole, everything that has happened to me has been because photography gives me joy. There is no other way to explain it. And it's different for everyone. So don't expect that what I say to you is going to apply completely. The beauty of being an artist is that we all come to the same outcome from different routes, right? And that's the beauty of art. So I've not had like the time to come up to make like a presentation for this, but the questions that you all have given me are beautiful, right? And I have been sitting on them since yesterday because I wanted to do justice to it. And I have written it in a Google Doc, right? So in case I am unable to finish, because my answers are never small, they are always big. And I'm sure you all will have something to say when I say something. So in case we don't finish in the allotted time, I can extend it if you all can extend it. But if we don't finish in the allotted time, then we can, I'll send the doc to you. Mahesh, I'm going to send you a photo of this poem that I want to start with. I don't know if
class session है बोल के बोले थे.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Bhaiya, you off mic.
Guys, can you please mute your mics? Okay.
So I'm going to start this session with a poem, which I think is the basis of most things that I do in life. I am a very persistent person, and this is a poem that I had learned like 10 years ago. And if you were to still ask me, I would still remember most of the text to it. But there is one paragraph that I really associated with, and that's what I want to start with, so that you all know that anything you all take up, it can apply in your life with this poem. Mahesh, I'll send you the poem. One sec. If you can,
I gave you the co-host permission, I think.
Share screen. One sec.
Or,
okay, one sec. Hold on. Let me set that. Yeah. What is happening? What is happening? This is stuck. Oh God. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, Siddhi.
You can see the poem, The Road Ahead or The Road Behind?
yes, we can see the
because I can't see it. That's why. Hold on. Yeah. So this is the poem which changed everything for me. It's by George Joseph Murati. And the thing is that we think that fate plays a very important role in our life, and it's true to a great extent. But it's not the only thing that matters, right? So I'm going to say this poem to you in the way that I'm giving permission to people. Is that fine? Because there are people in the waiting room. I've got access to that, I think. Mahesh. Or you're doing that? Can't hear you.
I'm doing that.
Okay, you're doing that. Okay. So if you all could just follow the poem with me, I'll tell you why it matters. Sometimes I think the fates must grin as we denounce and insist. The only reason we can't win is that fates themselves that miss. Yet there lives on an ancient claim. We win or lose within ourselves. The shining trophies on our shelves can never win tomorrow's game. You and I know deeper down, there's always a chance to win the crown. But when we fail to give our best, we simply haven't met the test of giving all and saving none until the game is really won, of showing what it is meant by grit, of fighting on when others quit, of playing through, not letting up. It's bearing down that wins the cup, of taking it and taking more until we gain the winning score, of dreaming there's a goal ahead, of hoping when our dreams are dead, of praying when our hopes have fled, yet losing, not afraid to fall, if bravely we have given all. For who can ask more of a man than giving all within his span? And giving all, it seems to me, is not so far from victory. And so the fates are seldom wrong, no matter how they twist and wind. It's you and I who make our fates, who we open up or close the gates on the road ahead or the road behind. So that one paragraph, right, which I have marked, For who can ask more of a man than giving all within his span? Giving all, it seems to me, is not too far from victory, right? This is the basis on which I do everything in life, right? And that persistence is what has gotten me where I am when it comes to photography, right? And it's not the same for everyone. This poem appealed to me, and it found me when I wanted it, right? But you will reach a point in life where you will find something that you absolutely relate to, and you should hold on to that, because that could possibly show you how you want to live your life, right? So with that, setting that as context as to how I approach life, I'm going to start taking your questions, right? I have managed to answer most of them, and the ones which I haven't, I will get to it later, right? So are you going to, whoever's asked the question, is that person going to say it, or how do you want to do this? I would like to see whoever's asked that question. So if that's possible.
Okay. Actually, students can ask the questions, but it might not be in the order. If it's fine, I'll ask students to ask the questions.
Okay, sure. I will. So, like I said, there are a few questions that I haven't gotten to. Like I haven't written it down. I can take those later in the end and like just take it on the go, right? But the ones which I have answered, I can just like answer them in person, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So
sure.
however you want to do it.
Yeah. Huda, can you ask your questions better?
One at a time.
One. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, sure. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So like it was very interesting, like the poem was really interesting, and especially that paragraph, it shows a lot of meaning. Siri, thank you so much for being here. And my question is that, like, what is one thing that you love the most about photography?
Okay, so that's like the perfect question to start with, which is the same question that I asked all of y'all, that why do y'all love photography, or why are y'all considering that? Because that question is going to change over the years. That question is going to change, and it will be very interesting if you document that question and the answer over the years, right? So my answer to this is that photography is like meditation to me, right? When I make photos, the people, the sound of the world, almost, it's like it stops, like the thoughts in my head stop, and I'm just absolutely present in the moment, right? And a lot of people have to do meditation for that. I have to do photography for that, right? Which is what explains why I shoot, like I document my life, right? It Photography has helped me slow down and observe and just appreciate every small and big thing in life, right? It didn't happen before that, but it happens now. It has taught me more than anything else to appreciate not just the big moments of life, but also the really small ones, but which can give you like a lot of happiness, right? If y'all have seen my work, y'all will know that I have a niece. Her name is Arya. She is the love of my life, and I have been documenting her since she was born. And in all of photography that I love, this documentation that I'm going to do of her is going to be the thing that I will love the most, right? Because she was born 5 years ago. My photography journey, technically, professionally, started 5 years ago, right? So we are both growing together, and I think it's beautiful. And photography just gives me immense joy. And I am so grateful that this thing that I am so passionate about is my profession, because I have done other professions before and I did not enjoy it. So this is like icing of the cake and the cake. So I love it. Yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you so much, Didi. It was such a beautiful answer. And my one last question is that, like, what motivates you? Like, what is a very strong source of information for a source of motivation for you? And what are some challenges that you faced during this journey of 5 years journey of photography?
uh, the 5 years was not a challenge. Once I got where I had to be, I just gave it my best. The challenge was getting there, right? So I finished, I have been working since I quit college. Like, there were a lot of people who chilled after college, but I had a job in hand uh, as soon as I got out of college. So I think I took a 15-day break and then I immediately started working. And that's the job from which I bought my first camera, which is the D600. You asked me about challenges. Yeah, so challenges this is the right answer. My family is not the kind who would understand this. I was working for almost 3 years in photography, after which they finally said that, okay, maybe this is going to be your profession, right? Because that's how it is in India. So after I got that job and after I bought that camera, I started shooting everything, right? I would carry that camera with me everywhere. Like, these days you have a phone which you have higher version phones which can take photos as good as a camera, but those days there were no phones, right? And my parents were not going to pay for that phone. So I would carry that camera everywhere and I would make photos of everything, right? I still have those photos. They are really shitty photos, but that's where I started, right? So did that. Then I worked for a year and a half, and I did like small gigs, which would give me little money, but that little money gave me the confidence that I can do this, in terms of, I can take this somewhere. And then after like 2.5 years, after shooting like so I was the official photographer wherever I went, right? At the end of, I would take my camera to every event and everyone would have those photos, right? So in those days, it was Orkut and Facebook days. And then I used to see my photos turn up on Orkut and Facebook, and like everyone is so happy and they have good photos, right? So that's where it started. So no one ever really knows that this is going to be their profession, right? Unless you come from the kind of background where you don't need to do a job, right? And you can just do whatever the hell you want. I don't come from that sort of background, so I had to do this while I was doing a full-time job, right? So then I switched jobs thrice, and then finally I reached a point where I wanted to get a full frame camera. Now a full frame camera is really expensive. Like, saving 30,000 is easy. Saving 1.6 lakhs is really difficult, no matter how much you try, right? So what I did was I saved half the money, and then I had a cousin who I knew would support me with my decision. And I said, can you give me the rest of the money and I will pay it back to you? And he said yes. So the challenge was that I did that. I went, I bought the camera, and then my dad found out and he was so mad at me. He was like, how could you ask someone else for this money? You should have asked me. And I was like, but you wouldn't give me the money for it, right? So then he got angry at me. He went, gave me a check, and then so that basically that money was returned to my cousin, and I had to like pay back my dad, and I did that in like a year. So basically I have not been given the tools, I have earned it, right? And so the kind of appreciation I have towards what I own is, it's not something everyone has, right? So I am very grateful to having reached here, because I had to work so hard to get here, right? And that's where then once I got my full frame camera, I could afford to take up like bigger gigs. And I used to shoot. So I was working in this company called Foxymoron. It is a digital marketing agency. And I used to take photos there at like all farewell parties, all birthday parties, right? And they saw that, they saw those photos. And then there was this moment where the director photos had to be taken, the director portraits for the website. And seeing those photos, they were like, okay, can you shoot this? I didn't take money for it, but I shot it. And that was a huge opportunity because the directors saw my photos, right? So basically, in your initial days, every opportunity you get, whether you get money or not, you should take it up simply for the fact that you'll get an experience. Because the thing is, when you start taking money for what you do, you are expected to deliver a certain quality of product, right? And if you don't know how to deliver that certain quality of product, then the people are not going to be happy, right? So when you go on a job, you should have already worked a lot more before you get that job, right? So those were the challenges in my initial days, because no one really thought I was going to do this. And I also didn't know that I would get here. So in those Foxymoron days, because I used to have a full-time job and I stay in one side of the town and my office was in the other side of town, I used to carry my laptop and I used to edit in the train, because there was no other time. I was too exhausted before or after to be able to do anything, right? So that's how I have edited, like in a crowded Borivali-Virar train. I have sat and I have edited, and everyone used to be like looking at me, but I was like, this is my time and this is the only way I can do this. So yeah, it's very easy to see someone to see someone who's famous or who's made a mark and say that, oh my god, they are so good and it must be so easy and I can also do this. The whole context here is that I have not reached here at this point 5 years later just like that, right? There has been a lot of work that has gone into it and no one really ever talks about it. So I'm gonna actually share. I won't read it because y'all can read it yourself. But there is this one story which I will pass on to Sir, and he can like give it to y'all. It's the story of how bamboo plants grow. Okay, it's beautiful. Basically, you plant the bamboo sapling. I have recently taken to gardening, and all my learning is from gardening these days. So, which is why I was really inspired by it. You plant a bamboo tree. For the first 4 years, nothing will happen. You have to just keep taking care of it and nurturing it, right? And in the 5th year, that shoot will grow in a week. In a week, flat. And that's like, that makes so much sense, right? So I will share that story. It's very beautifully written. Yeah, your inspiration doesn't have to come from photography itself, okay? It can come from anywhere. And it's very, very personal to you. Like what will inspire me will not necessarily inspire you. And that's the beauty of it, right? There's nothing wrong with it. That's the beauty of it, that we all are inspired by different things and all our photos will therefore inspire other different people, right? Yeah, so I think, have I answered your question? Huda?
Yes, Didi, you have, and very beautifully.
Okay, next question.
Kafia, can you ask your questions better?
Okay, sir. So, Didi, the one question that I really wanted to ask you that, like, many of us have this difficulty to choose our career, but like, how did you like start with photography? Like, how did you got to know that like I can do this photography, and like, how did you got that love for photography in you? I hope
So
you got my
yeah,
question.
I got your question. I got your question. So here's the thing. Okay, there's a difference in having a passion for something, and there is a difference in wanting to do that as a career. Okay, and that difference is everything. Um, some people can translate that passion into a profession, because you know, during your initial days you can shoot whatever you want, right? And it's fine, no one is going to say anything. If it's good, people will appreciate you for it. If it's bad, no one will say anything, right? But when you convert this into a profession, then the person who is paying you is going to expect a certain result, right? So when you do any kind of gig, there is a project brief, okay? And that even if that person has come to you because they love your work, when that project brief will come, no, they'll tell you, I want this. So they love you for your creativity, but they want you to do this. And there is no artistic satisfaction in that. Okay. So if you really want to be a photographer, you need to put in at least 2 years of work where you shoot. And if at the end of those 2 years, you are not bored, or you are not tired, or you are not like, yeah, I am doing the same thing again and again, I am so bored. If your answer at the end of those 2 years is that I still love this and I want to do this every day of my life, then you can pick it as a profession, right? Because there are far too many people who are looking at photography as an easy way to make money. And it is an easy way to make money, but that doesn't mean it's going to make you happy. That doesn't mean you're making good work, and that doesn't mean you are going to be able to sustain yourself for the next 10 years. Because for you to stay in the industry, your work will have to always keep improving, right? And that can only happen if you love what you do and you have that drive that, you know, this is not enough, I need to get better. So if you and the person next to you who is not a photographer is taking the same photo, then why will someone pay you more to take that photo? Right? Why? There's no reason to. Anyone, in fact, there are, like, we go to weddings and people will shoot on the iPhone, okay? And iPhone will give you like instant result, beautiful photo, right? And it's good. You can print in fact, I document Arya more on my phone than I do on my camera, right? And I can do small prints of that. But what I will bring to a wedding after shooting for 5 years versus the most obvious little thing that someone can take on an iPhone is very different, right? So what you are training for all the years before you start going professional is what will distinguish you from the person who removes his iPhone or a good phone and takes that photo, right? It's the understanding of the art. It's the being able to deliver a certain quality of product regardless of the situation around you, right? So that's the tricky one.
Harsha,
Yeah.
Sanya has a question for you in the chat. Why do you keep experimenting with new styles of photography?
Okay.
Which style of photography do you personally prefer and why?
Oh yeah. These questions are there. I have written a good answer for them. I will keep rambling, but when I put things to words, I'm better. I'm more of a person who can write than who can talk, because in talk I say anything, but in writing I write properly. So let me just find that question. I'm gonna tackle the. Have you ever been in a situation where you could capture a really good moment, but you couldn't for some reason? Photography is all about losing moments. Like you have to learn. You have to learn to let go, because if you get stuck on, oh my God, I missed that moment, there will be 10 more which will go by, right? And you don't know that. So a wedding is full of moments like these. Like you will be standing here and you will hear something, you will turn around, and so any moment has a curve. Okay. There's a start, there's a mid, which is your main curve, and there's an end. So for you to be able to make that main moment, it's called this decisive moment. I have answered that in the other question, and I can just add it here. That key moment is where the emotion is at its best, right? So when you laugh, you start with a smile, and then that laughter hits, and then it goes down, right? So a moment where you are able to hit that laughter, and not just one person's laughter. I'm talking about, like, if there are 10 people in that group, there's going to be one moment where there's going to be that bell curve of happiness. And if all of those people are happy in that one moment, that's your main moment, right? There will be moments before that and there will be moments after that, but that is your main moment. So, and that moment is like elusive. It will never happen again. Like, even if I saw it happening, okay, and I go to that group and I'm like, can you please redo this? It is not going to happen, right? So you have to celebrate your wins and learn from your losses, right? And the more you shoot, the more you will hone your ability to anticipate, right? And anticipation is everything, especially if you are going. So photojournalism, which is basically documentary photography, is what I am drawn towards, right? I love anticipating that bell curve. That's what I shoot for. That's why when I shoot, everything else fades, because I am concentrating on that moment in front of me, right? So in photojournalism, that key moment is what will distinguish you from the other photographer. And there are very few who are able to do that, because it takes much more than just knowing how to use a camera. Yeah. And the other question was, one sec.
Why do you keep experimenting with the styles of photography?
It's that thing that I said, right? That if at every wedding, there are different types of weddings, right? But you shoot many of the same kind of wedding, right? So the couple changes, the clothes change, the setup changes, but what is happening at the wedding, what it stands for, is always constant, right? So some people get bored because it's the same thing, right? But it's not. The people are different. The bonds they share with each other are different. And no moment can ever happen the same way again. So even if I shoot the same ceremony, so there is this game that is played during quite a lot of weddings, where the pandit will drop the ring in a pot, and the bride and groom are like supposed to put their hand in, and the person who wins is the person who will rule the house, right? It's a very fun game, and it always gets emotions out. That, if I were to take that as an example, even if I were to shoot 10 weddings, even though everyone will be laughing, if I put those 10 photos together, they will all be different, right? So it's more about your mindset. You could be the photographer who says, yeah, I'm so bored of this. Or you could be the person who says, can I nail that bell curve today? Right? Why do I experiment with styles? It's because I like all styles, right? I shoot portraits, I shoot documentary stuff, I shoot street, I shoot babies, right? I don't shoot all these things because of anything else, but because it gives me pleasure, right? No one has to ever tell me, Harsha, go take a photo. I'm already there, right? So that's where I come from. I speak to enough, or I hang out with enough artists to know that everyone is not the same, right? And that's the beauty of it. Like, there are some people who will just, like, if they have put their camera down, okay, for the day, and if they see something happening far away, they're done. Like, we are done for the day. I will be the one who will pick up the camera and be like, "Arey, wahan kuch ho raha hai, let me go take it," right? So it depends on you as a person, who you are, right? And that who you are and what you like is something that you can only understand by lots and lots of practice. Like, there is no shortcut to this. There is no shortcut to this. Practice is the only way you can get somewhere. Why do you keep experimenting? I've done which style of, so I told you I like photojournalism, because even the same moment will happen like in different ways, no matter how many times it happens. Have you been? Yeah, I've done that one. Next.
Shaista, can you come out and ask your question better?
So, Didi, I want to ask you that, like many other professions have that men's and women's discrimination. Do you also feel like that in your profession?
So I have actually been blessed to not be in that situation, right? I shoot weddings where it is easier for me to get access to more places than men would, right? But when it comes to photojournalism, which is basically photos that journalists go and cover, like difficult situations, there they do face certain kind of discrimination, but it's not been a part of my lived experience, so I can only speak from what I have read, and it's not my experience, so I won't be the best person to give you an insight into that. I have only read about it, but I have not experienced it like myself.
Thank you, Harsha.
Yeah.
Kafia, can you come out of mute and ask your question better?
Okay, sir. So, Didi, the question like I got that like if I to give you a topic and like I'll ask you to like click a picture about the topic by staying at home, like wherever you are, just click that picture which is aligned to that topic.
I mean, if you have the means to do it, it can be done. Anything can be done in photography. During lockdown, in fact, I have created the most number of self-portraits on this wall behind me, right? It's nothing, like you can see it. It's nothing. But most of my self-portraits that have been done on this wall. There are almost 5 different variations of self-portraits that I have done on the basis of a topic that I came up with, right? Like, I wrote something down, then I visualized it, and then I executed it, right? And during lockdown, I could not go out, buy anything, so everything was made with that one mirror which was at home, which I also broke, and I have to do a photo with the broken mirror. It's scheduled, so that mirror that you see behind me, I had tried to take a photo with it, and I thought I'll stick it for like a bit, but it got stuck, so now it's stuck, and I have not removed it. Because it's stuck. If I remove it, the paint will come out from behind it, and I don't have the time to get the paint done, so it's just stuck now. So it is when you reach a certain level of skill and understanding of what goes into making a photo, right? You will be able to execute it. Will it be the best work possible? If there was like production involved, if there was money involved, if you could go out and buy stuff, then it will be a better quality product. But if you give me a challenge like that, I can do it with whatever I have available at home.
Okay, Didi, just one more like just question aligned to that. So I wanted to ask that like you said, no, there's a curve that we have to follow. So you said that there is a main point that we shouldn't miss out. Like, how should we choose that main thing?
You will realize that only once you shoot, right? Because to reach that, to be aware at that main point, you have to have anticipated. So the start of a moment, there is always like a buzz which is happening in that place. Like it could be like a discussion where like the friends are talking about throwing water on the groom, right? So I've heard that. Now I'm aware that some activity is about to happen. Then I will go ask the friend, what is happening? Then they'll be like, we are planning to throw water on the groom. So then I'm aware, and then I'll ask them, where are you planning to do it? When are you planning to do it? So once I have that information, I know that this is going to happen, I will be aware. So while you're trying to shoot a movement, you have to be there before it starts, or you need to anticipate. Like when you shoot a wedding, you know if the bride or groom shares a special relationship with the mother or father, right? So during the bidai, those people are going to cry, or those people are going to have an emotive moment at some point during the whole wedding. So I will always be aware of it, like those special relationships that two people share, and I will always keep my eye out for that moment, right? And it only comes with anticipation, and anticipation only comes with practice. Like, would I have been able to do this when I started off? No, I didn't even know that there was something like this. But you do it enough and you'll know about that. You can read up on the decisive moment. It's available, like very easily available online. It's what photojournalism is based on. So yeah. Are we asking new questions, or are we asking questions that have already been shared?
We are going with questions which already have been shared. The same kids who ask the questions are asking you.
No, it's fine. Like even if they have different questions, I can just send this doc file and y'all can read it because it's the same. But the deal is that these questions, I think, are more deeper than the ones that I'm getting right now. Yeah. So
okay.
That's why I thought that I was very surprised when I got these questions, because I had to really sit and think and write. Yeah. So it was good questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Nadia, can you ask your questions better?
Yes, sir. So, Didi, my question is about like there are so many different styles of photography. So, like, how would we know like if we are doing photography, what is the best style that will be best for our photographical choice?
But that is that depends on you, right? The only way to know which style you really like is to try all styles and try them enough. So there is this initial fascination or excitement when you do something for the first time, or for the second time, or for the third time. That the day you have to do it for the 10th time, right? You will know the difference between, is this something that you love doing, or is this like initial day excitement, right? So there are many kinds of photography that you can do. There is portraits, there is photojournalism, which is shooting street, right? There is landscape, there is architecture, there is still life, there is editorial, or there is weddings, which is like all of that put together on a day in which you have no control, right? So you need to spend time with all of these consciously. Like 1 week, I am going to shoot portraits, right? So you go around shooting portraits of people of your family. You don't even need to go out, seek out fancy location. No, do it at home. Shoot your family. They are the most difficult subjects because they will give you the worst time. And if you can nail that shot, then you are sorted, right? Because people who want to get photos taken will listen to whatever you say, but people who don't want to get photos taken are your real toughest subject, right? And at the end of the day, you will have like beautiful photos of your family, which is something that we as photographers miss so much, because we are always seeking the outside so much that we forget that we could just do the same thing for our family and like give them joy. So yeah, you have to experiment. Like I cannot tell you, I don't even know you, right? I don't even know what you like. I cannot tell you what is going to be good for you. You have to decide that yourself.
Huda has a question. What do you do when you fail? How do you motivate yourself to get back to work again?
I have answered this. 1 second. So you remember I started with the story of how I am very persistent. It's my nature. Not everyone can do it. So no matter how hard the task at hand is, I'm not the kind who will try once, who will try twice and be like, it's done, right? So that there's this one portrait session that I had done at home, right? I did that over 4 sessions because I was not getting the shots that I needed. Most people would be like, yeah, I've got this one shot, I'm done, my theme is done. But I wanted to make a series of style portraits at home with myself. Like it's not even that I'm shooting someone else, right? When you do self portraits, you realize that exactly how difficult it is, because you have to style, you have to pose, and you have to trigger yourself, right? So the reason why I have grown so quickly is because I never stop. I slow down, I take like detours, I'll try one thing, then I don't like, I can't figure it out, I'll go somewhere else, right? But I will never stop. I have huge slumps in creativity, right? And this time at home has been a true test. And I have changed as a photographer because I couldn't go out. When I was restricted to my house, and more than my house, to my room, that is when I have been my most creative. Because that escape which I found in photography by going out and shooting people, like I can shoot anything, right? I will go out and I will shoot anything. I will shoot nature, I will shoot like light patterns, I'll shoot anything. So I didn't have that escape anymore, right? And I need that escape, I need that meditative mood. So how do I do it? Which is why I had to find a way and then work with those extreme constraints. If you can work with extreme constraints, when you have the resource, you are going to nail it, right? So now when I go at weddings, I am not looking for fancy locations. I know that if you give me a blank wall, I can pose the person in front of it and I can nail a shot, right? So I would not have had this kind of confidence if I did not struggle at home with my limited means, right? So, and the beauty of it is that at no point have I ever reached a place where I've thought, you know what, I'm done. Because the day that happens, I will stop being a photographer, right? I don't think I will ever reach that point, because in life there are like a lot of things that you don't get to choose, right? But photography is a choice I have made consciously, right? And when you make a choice, you stick to it, or at least I do, right? So I will keep giving it and doing it until it keeps giving me joy. And like I said, I find inspiration in everything. Like I will see a movie, I'll be paying attention to the framing, I'll be paying attention to lighting, I'll be paying attention to why am I feeling this way, what is the mood that this scene is creating. Because a movie at the end of the day is like good movies, okay? Good movies, they are planned so thoroughly that level, if I can break it down in my head, then I can execute it at the next shoot that I am at, right? So you can find inspiration anywhere in books. Like you could read a line in a book. I have done that. You could read a line in a book and you can be like, I want to create a photo for this. So I don't ever get demotivated. I am always looking for the next best thing, and failure doesn't scare me, because I'm not gonna stop. So doesn't stop me.
Nazir, can you ask your questions better?
Yes, Didi. So like my next question was about like how can we make sure that the message that we want to convey from our photos is like given in the like right sense, like it is like
So I'll tell you, I'll give all of you an experiment. Okay, take 5 photos that y'all shoot, print them. Okay, or if you can't print them, just take those 5 photos on your phone and show it to 5 different people. Okay, when you do that, you will realize that how you perceive a photo versus how each of those 5 people perceive those photos is absolutely different, right? So you can never in any way predict how a photo is going to make a person feel. It is subject to so many things, right? Like what their lived experiences. Like if you don't have kids, if you don't love kids, when you see a beautiful kids photo, it's not going to do anything to you, right? But if you have a kid, that photo will be everything to you, because you will imagine your kid in that photo and it will give you immense joy, right? There's a reason why landscape or nature photos are so easily relatable. It's because each of us can imagine being in that place, right? So there's this quote by David Allen Harvey. It's called don't shoot what it looks like, shoot what it feels like, right? And that shoot what it feels like is what I as a photographer do with my photos, right? If someone is getting a hug, that's what I want to document, how tight the hug is, the emotion on their face. If someone is crying and if someone is being comforted by it, I want to document that, right? So yeah, that's the way it is. There is no right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. It is your vision as an artist, and your vision is always going to be very, very unique to you. So don't ever try to copy someone else, because you can do it for a while. If you're so here's the thing, copying someone is an easy way to learn how to do something, right? You take a photo in front of you and you try and execute it. It's going to take a lot of effort and skill, okay? Just because they could do it, it's about mood, it's about lighting, it's about edit, right? So you can try it and you will become a better photographer, but it will not be your voice. Your voice is what draws you as a photographer. So since Arya was born, I started photographing her, which is why I started this this thing called Day in the Life or Remember with Harsha. It is basically, I realized that kids, they grow up so fast, and all those small tiny things that I so want to remember, if I didn't have photos for it, photos or videos for it, I would just forget, right? And for me, those small moments of how Arya is growing up is everything, right? So that's why I have a whole Days with Arya thing, and I document that. So you have to have a conversation with yourself after you shoot a lot, right? You cannot have this conversation by doing one shoot and then you'll be like, what is it that I like the most? No, you have to shoot. And then from all those photos, you pick the ones which give you absolute joy. And or that's one way, okay? And the other way is if you Google like old famous photographers, okay, people who have been in the industry for 30 to 40 years, right? I can give you an example. Steve McCurry. I know he's involved in like a lot of controversy, but if you go to his website, okay, and if you see his body of work, it is insane. Okay, I have not seen anyone else have that sort of body of work, right? You can check out Barack Obama's official photographer. Like the nuances of every day that has been documented by him in such a meaningful way, right? It's something else. So it's about finding what pulls you. I've written like during quarantine, I struggled with all of that, right? So I had like a lot of thoughts and I've written a few blogs on this, because it's very easy to see someone else's work and be like, man, I suck. Like, I just suck. I should just quit, right? But you are comparing your 100,000 photos to their one best photo. You have your one best photo, which is your one best photo, right? So all of these are like things that you will come to later once you do photography for a while. Like, you are talking to someone who's been doing this for 5 years, and if you were to ask me what did I think of when I started off, I didn't think of any of this. I just shot. All of these things you'll realize much later. So it's a good start. Yeah. Next.
We can go with the last question, guys. If anyone want to ask a question from your side, you can ask Harsha Didi. I hope. Okay, I can see no hands. Okay, guys. I hope everyone have understood about photography session, and your doubts about the photography have been cleared. So can you guys share your takeaways by coming out of mute, so that we will know how it has impacted you? Anyone first?
Sir, can I go ahead?
Yes, beta.
So yes, Didi. from your all the experience of photography and all your lessons and challenges, Didi, it was really great and motivating for me. And it is something I got to you know your story gave us so many lessons. Like sometimes I also feel like I can't do this or something for small things, Didi, but it's nothing like that. So I got this lessons. It was really nice. Thank you so much.
Great. That's great. That's good to hear.
Kafia. Kafia, you can go better.
Okay, sir. So, Didi, this session was like really very fruitful for me. Like I have learned so much about like pro photography also, and also like I was like when I see someone as inspiration, I used to think that like it is just so easy to get to the place that they came, but it is not true. Like hearing your story of struggles and all that, like I just couldn't stop getting inspired. And this is your like you became one of the source of motivation to me to go ahead in my life and do what I love. And Didi, this were like whatever you shared, like I really learned about life and also like how we shouldn't be like scared of the struggles and earn everything, like how you have earned your tools and that. Thank you so much for this session, Didi.
So glad. I'm so glad.
Sir, I want to go ahead.
Yeah.
So, sir, as Harshal said, that if we like anything, so we have to do, and if you don't like it, you shouldn't do, because if you are liking it, you will definitely do it in a better way. And if you don't like it, we will like take it lightly and we will not do it by our heart. So I understood that if you are liking anything, we have to do it, and if you are not, so let it go on.
So I would like to say one thing. Okay, it is, if you all want to do this as a profession, it's great, right? It's great, but it's also okay to have photography just as a passion, which gives you joy, right? Because when you convert a passion into a profession, you could lose that joy. I have seen it happen to far too many people. So that realization you'll only come to when you start shooting that much, right? When you start shooting to the point that you are not doing anything else in life. Like the last 4 years, I have only shot. Like I have spent, out of 365 days, I have spent 200 days shooting or traveling for shoot, right? And traveling is all fun and games. Like that's what people see, right? Photographers are traveling so much. But when we go for shoot, we literally go for shoot and come back. Like if you were to ask me how many places I have gone to, I could say a lot. Okay. But if you were to ask me how many places have you experienced, I would not have the same answer. Okay. So don't get into this because, oh my God, you get to travel so much. Oh my God, you get to shoot celebrities. Shooting celebrities is painful. Okay. It's very, very, very painful. And it's not fun and it's not as rewarding as it seems, right? So don't do it for those reasons. Do it if you love it. Do it if you would do it. So there was something, there's a question that is asked, right? If money was not a factor, what is the job you would do? Okay. For me, that answer is photography. If I didn't have to earn money, I would still do this. And I would do this happily for the rest of my life, right? I would not have said the same thing for my previous job in social media, but I can definitely say it for this. In fact, I would shoot a lot more interesting things than I do currently because I care about like social causes. I care about, I want to get into sustainable living, right? So I care about a lot of things. So I am always fascinated, and that fascination never ends. So if you are that kind of person who's, then this is like the perfect job for you. But after 3 or 4 years, anything gets monotonous, even photography. And if you don't like it for the pleasure of doing it alone, then this is not the profession for you. Like I know we are in a photography class, right? But this is the reality of it. And if you want to try it, there has never been a better time, because it's so easily accessible. But there are too many photographers who are just making it, and too few photographers who like make it to the top, right? So if not making it to the top and still making enough money to sustain yourself and doing it for the joy of it, if that's what, if you're happy with that, because I'm happy with that. I even if I have shot celebrities, it makes no difference to me. I shoot the celebrity the same way I would shoot the street. It makes no difference to me, man. It makes me a little famous, but I don't care about fame. If I get there, I get there. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. So do it for the joy. Don't do it for the money. Don't do it for travel. Those are all the wrong reasons. You can earn enough money to travel. Okay? You can earn enough money to buy a camera. But you will not get joy out of it if those are the only reasons.
Okay, guys, we are running out of time. So what will we do is all of you on your cameras, and we'll give a shout out to Harsha Didi for giving her valuable time and giving such insights for each and every one of us, including me. I'm just a teacher, but still I got some things I need to take.
I don't think you ever stop learning. I mean,
yes,
you
yes.
never stop learning. Yeah.
So can all of you on your cameras on count of 5 and give a shout out to Harsha Didi. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All of you said thanks to Didi in a loud pitch.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Didi.
Didi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Didi. Thank you. Also, if any of you all have questions that have not been covered, or you all just want to like keep in touch, I am good with emails. I like writing. I am going to, so I had written all the questions that you all had asked me, I have written it. I was actually planning to like publish it at like a blog. So I'll publish it like a blog, and if you all ever want to like go back to it, feel free. And if you all want to like reach out to me, email is a good way, because email I can reply when and if I get time. I will get time. It's only a question of when, not if. So write to me if you all want to like collate everything and send it together, do that, or like write to me individually, and I would love to answer if there is anything that I can do.
Sure, Harsha. If students have any questions further, I'll definitely write an email to you by collecting all the responses. And
or you can share it with them directly, like let them reach out to me directly. Maybe they'll ask me something different if
sure.
There is no mediator. So
sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for taking this session. I feel that most of the kids got an idea about photography, and not only that, the way you said how you dealt with the problems and the way you look at the things were really good. I hope students take some things from here and try to implement in their studies and their profession they want to choose. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This has been great. I just want to like read all these messages that are coming. Also, guys, YouTube is a great way to learn. if I could give you one takeaway, the easiest way to learn is not just watch YouTube videos. Like pick one topic. Just Google photography. You'll get like many different topics, right? Pick one topic, watch one video, and go execute it. Just watching is not going to get you anywhere, right? You have to go experiment and see if what he's saying or what she's saying makes sense, right? So if you do that, and if you do that week on week and month on month, in a year or in 2 years, you will see like a drastic change in your photography, right? If you all want, I will find some channels which you all can like look up. It will help. Good channels that will a mix of philosophy and technique and edit. If those are three aspects that come in photography: technique, philosophy, and edit, right? Three. If y'all can start with that, and then YouTube will give you like more suggestions, then y'all can go wherever y'all want. It will help. So pick one topic. Don't try and do 10 things at once. You will not know what to do. You will not know where to go. Pick one thing and work on that thing. And make photos of family, guys. It's a good starting point.
Okay, Didi.
Oh yeah, and I learned on my own. Like I learned with other creators, but I have not studied photography professionally. What are the skills? So empathy, I think empathy is the one skill that you need to be a photographer. The ability to feel what the person in front of you is feeling, at least when it comes to like moment driven photos. If you can imagine yourself into their lives, then you're sorted. You can do moments easily. Yeah. I think that's. Remember the poem, guys. It's beautiful. It will take you places. Do you want that link? Yeah.
Can you share the link?
It's called The Road Ahead. One second. I'll share the link right here. Oh, and